For 300 Seconds in Gettysburg, I'm Licensed Battlefield Guide Chris Army, and I'm joined here today with Licensed Battlefield Guide Brit Isenberg, and we are in Atoka, Virginia, near the Caleb Rector House. Brit, can you tell us a little bit about the Caleb Rector House and its significance here to the Gettysburg campaign?
Sure. Well, we're located just a few miles west of Middleburg, Virginia, the settlement currently known as Atoka. The house behind us here, the Caleb Rector House, is a pre-Civil War home, but was frequented by many famous characters that you'd be familiar with in the Gettysburg campaign. Situated right along the Ashby's Gap Turnpike, which is literally behind Chris and I here, just in front of the house. Of course, it comes from Middleburg to the east. It goes west to Ashby's Gap. So many units during the Civil War used this road, and it was very familiar to both JEB Stuart and John Singleton Mosby. We are in Mosby country here in Loudoun County, Virginia. But this takes us up to the night of June 24th, 1863, during the Gettysburg campaign. Chris, can you tell us a little bit about why this site is so significant in the story of the campaign?
Sure. Well, just like we're experiencing right now, it's raining, although the night of June 24th, 1863, the rain is very heavy. Now, JEB Stuart is located on the grounds here of the Caleb Rector House with some of his men, and JEB Stuart has gone to sleep under a tree in the yard. Now, sleeping on the porch of the Caleb Rector House is Stuart's Adjutant General, Henry B. McClellan. And McClellan writes that he's woken up in the middle of the night and given some orders. And these, of course, will ultimately be the orders that instruct JEB Stuart that he can go ahead and start his ride around the Union Army. So, McClellan receives the orders. He's going to open them up and read them by candlelight, and he decides, well, that's important enough to wake up JEB Stuart. So he's going to wake up JEB Stuart. Jeb kind of chides him a little bit for reading the orders. You know, the orders were for Jeb's eyes only, but McClellan opens them up. They're going to go into the house and use the front room to sit down, read through the orders, take a look at the maps, and now Stuart's ride is about to get ready to get started. Now, Brit, how does Stuart and McClellan, how do they really know which path they're going to take, which route they're going to take on this ride, and the significance of the house here to that?
Yeah, so it's very important question to ask, of course. Much of this is done in a clandestine effort. You know, Stuart doesn't want everybody in his command to know exactly where they're going, and in fact, when they actually leave the Rector House into the roadway behind us, Stuart famously turns his horse westward towards Ashby's Gap and the Shenandoah Valley and says, "Ho to the valley!" And then he turns his horse to the south and surprises everybody on his staff, and they start riding a few miles south of here towards what was then known as Salem Depot. And that is the established rendezvous for the three brigades that Stuart is going to take with him on this ride. Now, how does he know where to go? Well, it all comes back to another very important event that happened in the front room of this house, and that is on June the 10th, John Singleton Mosby, in this very room on the porch behind us here, officially established the 43rd Battalion of Virginia Partisan Rangers. Of course, everybody knows Mosby. He's famous for his endeavors during the war trying to gather information. And the information he gathers preceding Stuart's ride is very important, because on the same day he forms his 43rd Virginia Battalion, they ride north to the Potomac River and they cross at Seneca Mills. And Rouser's Ford, as we all know it today, is just to the southeast of Seneca Mills. But this is planted in Stuart's mind from the very beginning as a possible crossing point to get north towards Pennsylvania. Beyond that, as they move south towards Salem Depot, Mosby is very familiar with all the crossing points in the Bull Run Mountains. And it's his hope, through reconnaissance he's done, that Stuart might be able to cross the Bull Run Mountains at Thoroughfare Gap, or Hopewell's Gap, which is the next gap just to the north. As we find out later in the ride, nothing plays out according to plan, but it's very important to how Stuart is going to select his routing as he first moves southeast and then eventually north towards the Potomac River.
So, the night of June 24th going into June 25th, Stuart's received the orders. He's going to go meet up with his three brigades, and now the ride started.
And now the ride has begun. They're on their way north. For 300 Seconds to Gettysburg, I'm Licensed Battlefield Guide Brit Isenberg, and this is Licensed Battlefield Guide Chris Army.
Thanks for joining us.